Finally, the time has arrived and you're ready to shoot your PSA. Shooting a PSA or any video is actually the shortest part of the production cycle. Pre-production, figuring out what you're going to say, what your story is, and how you're going to shoot it should have taken up most of your time. If you've done your planning right, shooting should be the fastest, funnest, and easiest part of this whole process. Here are some tips to help make your shoot go as well as possible. Number one, plan more time than you think that you're going to need, because there's always going to be things that come up while you're shooting, things that get in the way of your shot, things that don't go quite as easy as they did when you drew out the stick figures on a piece of paper. Next, and we already said this, but make sure that you vary your shot size so that you're using the size of the figures in the camera to tell your story a little bit more, closer in for the emotional moments, further away to create some contrast. Another important thing to remember is don't shoot something that's bad and expect to fix it later. It's never going to be the case that it can be as good afterwards as it was the first time you did it. So make sure that your video and your sound, we talked about sound before, is really good and clean where you are on set and before you leave. Always, whenever possible, do 2 takes of the same shot, just to make sure that you have options in case there was something in your frame that you didn't see or something that you didn't hear that comes up later. Another thing to think about is, unless you're going for a very specific style when you're shooting, try to use a tripod, because no one wants to watch your camera shake up and down. It can be very distracting. It's distracting from the message. It's distracting from the story that you've worked so hard to tell. Lastly, and really, really importantly, if you plan, again, we talked about sound before, if you plan to use sound from your computer instead of just music and images and creating the sound later, make sure that the sound you get is really, really clean, that there aren't noises, cars, airplanes in the background that are going to ultimately distract from your extremely amazing storytelling. That's it. You know, for shooting, go out, have fun, and be creative.